Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. And today, you guys, it is Wednesday. That means it's time to take it to the internet and find something insane with internet insanity. And today, you guys, is kind of a follow-up on episodes that I've done on Jeffrey Epstein in the past, because unfortunately his number one known accuser of all the crimes that he did in and out of court has sadly passed away, and I really want to take some time to honor her memory and bring this back to the forefront, because I don't know if you guys kind of forgot, especially with everything going on, especially right now with the Diddy case. I do feel like some of these things kind of get forgotten, and I just don't feel like this is a story we should forget. And especially with her passing, I really want to make sure that we're carrying on her name and making sure that everything that she did remains in her memory, and that does not stop just because she is no longer here. And I just really want to send my apologies and love and prayers to everyone in her family. There's a lot of turmoil, looks like, going on with this whole situation, and there's just a couple things that I wanted to bring up because I honestly forgot a lot of the stuff that happened with Jeffrey Epstein in the last couple days. I've been diving back into it with the Netflix series and just watching a bunch of videos on YouTube over the last, that were about 5-6 years ago, just really getting a reminder of how disgusting this human being was. And I just really wanted to bring it back to the show. So if you are interested in listening to a couple articles I found and a little bit of history of Virginia and what happened there to refresh your memory, then stick around and we'll jump right in. Okay, babe, so a couple things. As I mentioned, I'm trying different things in my camera, but today Riverside actually wasn't working for me, and that has never happened in like the 3 years I've used this program. App just wouldn't open. So trying something new today. Fingers crossed this episode actually launches. If not, your babe's gonna be pissed having to do this late and post this late and tomorrow. So we're praying. But today I did want to talk about Virginia Guiffre, and I wanted to talk about how she has sadly passed away and things leading up to her passing, and just talk about some of the theories that are online, and just also to keep her story alive, because terrible things did happen to her. And although those individuals, one has either passed away and the other one is in prison, I don't feel like she fully felt like she had a victory, like that her job wasn't, her purpose wasn't done, because she was here to help other people. And it's just really sad that the victims have lost one of their strongest voices. And I really hope that they feel empowered by her story, living through hers. All the work that she did, carries on through her name. So just again, like I said, offering prayers and love to the family. And I will never stop remembering her and all the hard work that she did for victims and herself, because what she did is super brave. And like I said, you guys, there's like a 90, I think it's like 60 minutes Australia version. There's tons of documentaries all over YouTube. But what I found super interesting is, outside of the news, no one was really covering this. There wasn't very many YouTube commentary channels that were heavily talking about Epstein back in the day, that they're just completely silent. Now I understand it's being overshadowed by the Diddy case, but that's just starting. This is something that I think a lot of people were worried about for years, and it's just raised a lot of eyebrows of what actually happened. So let's get into, we're going to start in Wikipedia and just kind of get a refresher of who she was and kind of a background of her and Epstein, and then we'll lead into what happened and the speculation of what happened to her and a couple other stories leading up to her passing, just to kind of get the conversation started and just to see how you guys feel about this. Okay, so what does Wikipedia say? Wikipedia says Virginia Louise Guiffre, née Roberts, April 9th, 1983 to April 25th, 2025, was an American-Australian accuser of child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and a campaigner who offers support to survivors of sex trafficking. Guiffre created Victims Refuse Silence, a nonprofit organization in the United States, in 2015, which was relaunched under the name Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, SOAR, in November 2021. She gave a detailed account to many American and British reporters about her experiences being trafficked by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She pursued criminal and civil actions against Epstein and Maxwell and appealed directly to the public for justice and awareness. She sued Maxwell for defamation in 2015, and the case was settled in Guiffre's favor for an undisclosed sum in 2017. On July 2nd, 2019, the United States Courts of Appeals for Second Circuit ordered the unsealing of documents from earlier civil suit by Guiffre against Maxwell. The first batch of documents from Guiffre's suit were released to the public on August 9th, 2019. That was about when I started reading into this, further implicating Epstein, Maxwell, and a number of their associates. The following day, Epstein was found dead in his Manhattan prison cell. Whole other story. Talked about this on the podcast before. An October 2019 interview for BBC Panorama aired on December 2nd, Guiffre described her experiences of being sex trafficked by Epstein to Britain's Prince Andrew, which helped shift public opinion against the prince. She subsequently sued the prince in civil court in New York. The suit was settled in February 2022, with Prince Andrew paying an undisclosed amount to Guiffre and making substantial donations to her charity. But he's innocent, right? Allegedly. So how did she get herself involved with Epstein? And again, guys, highly recommend watching the Netflix documentary. It was very well put together. Also going to YouTube and finding I believe, like I said, Australian 60 Minutes. They have an interview with her as well from quite a long time ago, six years ago, I believe it was. But I mean, to get an idea of her story. So let's continue. So in 2000, Guiffre met Ghislaine Maxwell when working as a spa attendant at Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club while reading a book about massage therapy. Maxwell, a British socialite and daughter of the late media tycoon Robert Maxwell, approached Guiffre, noted the book that she was reading, inquired about her interest in massage, and offered her potential job working for Epstein as a traveling masseuse with assurance that no experience was necessary. When Guiffre arrived at Epstein's Palm Beach home, she says he was naked lying down on Maxwell. When Guiffre arrived at Epstein's Palm Beach home, she says he was naked lying down and Maxwell told her how to massage him. They seemed like nice people, so I trusted them, and I told them I'd had a really hard time in my life up until then. I'd been a runaway, I'd been sexually abused, physically abused. That was the worst thing I could have told them because now they knew how vulnerable I was, she stated. She stated that after Maxwell introduced her to Jeffrey Epstein, the two quickly began grooming her to provide sexual service under the guise that she was to be trained as a professional massage therapist. Between 2000 and 2002, Guiffre was closely associated with Epstein and Maxwell, traveling between Epstein's residence in Palm Beach and Manhattan, with additional trips to Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico and private island in Little St. James. We've talked about that several times. In Miami's Herald investigative journalism series, Perverse of Justin, Guiffre describes her experience of being trafficked by Epstein to provide massages and sexual services for him and a number of his business associates over a 2.5-year period. In her interview with the BBC, Guiffre said she was passed around like a platter of fruit to Epstein's powerful associates and taken around the world on private jets. One instance in March 2001 that Guiffre was alleged trafficked to Prince Andrew. She stated in an interview that it was a wicked and really scary time in her life and that she couldn't comprehend how in the highest level of government power people were allowing this to happen. Not just allowing, but participating in it. After visiting a nightclub, Guiffre says Maxwell told her that she had to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. In court documents from a civil suit that were released from the seal in 2019, Guiffre named several others that she claimed Epstein and Maxwell instructed her to have sex with, including hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, attorney Alan Dershowitz, politician Bill Richardson, and the late MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, lawyer George J. Mitchell, and MC2 modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel. Many of the men denied Guiffre's allegations. In September 2002, at the age of 19, Guiffre flew to Thailand and attended the International Training Massage School in Chiang Mai. Maxwell provided her with tickets to travel to Thailand and instructed her to meet with a specific Thai girl to bring her back to the United States for Epstein. While at the massage school in Thailand in 2002, she met Robert Guiffre, an Australian martial arts trainer, and the two married quickly after. She contacted Epstein and informed him that she would not be returning as planned. She and her husband started a life and family in Australia, and Guiffre broke off contract with Epstein and Maxwell. For 5 years, Guiffre and her husband lived a quiet life in Australia with their young children. Now, one thing that made me really sad today was going back and watching that Australian documentary where it shows her and her husband, and I guess they hadn't been together long and they move very quickly, which hey, I'm not going to judge. Everyone's different and whatever works for you at the time. And it seemed like there was a lot of questions about the validity of their love. And it seemed like they were a little bit unsure of why people would question that, and they love each other and they just knew. And it sounded like he had validated her feelings and, kind of shook her out and said, you don't have to live like this anymore. And, went and had kids and got married and have a simple life together and try to heal from all this. And they looked super happy. So I was really sad to hear today, of the turmoil that they had in their relationships, because they did look like at the time, and I'm not taking that away, but it just made me a little sad today that everything that she had gone through, that her marriage was also not moving forward. And I also then thought, okay, I'm not saying she did or did not unalive herself. I don't know. But listening to what was happening to her leading up to these moments, made me realize that, there's so much more going on in people's lives. And just because on the outside we hear about all the trafficking and the conspiracies and all those things, and, it seems to be every time someone has a story about trafficking, that we don't see them around for too much longer after they talk about their story. So it is plausible for people to question that. On the other side, this woman went through so much. We have no idea what people are fighting in the background. And so, like I said, it could be either way, but this part really just made me go, oh gosh, okay, well, maybe the support systems that she had in place while she was healing are no longer there. And maybe that was very vulnerable for her. I'm not sure. Or like some people are speculating that someone got to her. So let's go to what Wikipedia says happened to her. On March 31st, 2025, in an Instagram post, Guiffre stated that her car collided with a bus traveling 40 miles per hour, 110 for us Canadian, resulting in her going into renal failure. Guiffre said she had been given 4 days to live. Her family later said in a statement that police were called but said that there was no one available to come to the scene. And Guiffre, who was banged up and bruised, was subsequently taken to the hospital as her condition deteriorated. She was later discharged. According to her family, Guiffre died by suicide at her home in Nergabi, West Australia on April 25th. At the time of her death, she was in a custody battle for her 3 children with Robert Guiffre, with whom she was undergoing a divorce. Her father released in a statement on May 1st discounting the suicide explanation and posting that someone got to her. Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that, because as we're going to go through some of these other articles here, there's other family members that are saying it was a suicide and there was a note. This is where I started getting a little bit confused on what's actually going on. And of course, I don't know everything. I can't see everything. This is all very new. So not entirely shocked that I don't know what's going on, but that kind of struck a little thing in my brain. And I was like, hold that for later. Now let's go to the next article, another article that's describing what happened to her and the note. The family of Epstein abuse survivor Virginia Guiffre have released her heartbreaking final letter where she writes, "Battle lines are drawn." The handwritten letter comes just days after Miss Guiffre, 41, committed suicide. Guiffre, 41, was found at her farm in Nergabi, West Australia, where she has been living for the past few years. The letter was shared by Miss Guiffre's sister-in-law, Amanda Roberts, who said she will carry on her legacy. The heartbreaking handwritten letter reads, "Mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers need to show the battle lines are drawn and stand together to fight for the future of victims. Is protesting the answer? I don't know. We've got to start somewhere." You can see the note there. Sharing the letter, Miss Roberts wrote, "Hello world. We have found a handwritten note that our sister Virginia wrote. I think it's important that the survivors know that she is with you and her voice will not be silenced. I know that is so important, and her wish is that we continue to fight." The former lawyer for the victims of billionaire, pedophile, and disgraced businessman Jeffrey Epstein told the LBC he questions everything following the suicide of one of his victims, Virginia Guiffre. Spencer Coven told LBC Tom Swarbrick that often the initial story is not the truth. She sued Prince Andrew for sexual abuse back in August 2021. She claimed the Duke of York had sex with her when she was 17 and had been trafficked by Epstein. Miss Guiffre and Andrew reached an out-of-court settlement in March 2022. On Monday, Mr. Coven said statistics and research show there is a much higher incident rate of suicide among childhood abuse victims, sexual abuse victims particularly. It would not be surprising, unfortunately, if she did end up taking her life. What I would say, though, is that with the case of Jeffrey Epstein and all of the people within its orbit, it just requires a certain amount of introspection and investigation to make sure that this was in fact what people are saying it is. I question everything and anything that has gone in this case for many years because oftentimes what we found is that the initial story is not the truth. I mean, where's the lie, right? Where is the lie there? A lot of what we heard of Jeffrey Epstein. Fuck, do you remember before 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein was just a conspiracy theory, that child trafficking rings were just a conspiracy theory? They're just something that these extreme fringe people on 4chan were talking about, and it wasn't a real thing. But as the years progressed, as the pandemic happened and more people were trapped in their homes looking at their phones, I think we all learned very quickly that that's not true. And if you were like me, you went all the way fucking down the rabbit holes from Pizzagate to the Clintons, sacrificing chickens for Moloch. You've gone down to Bohemian Grove. You've gone to all of those different satanic, demonic, holy, weird shit, fucking crazy shit all over the place, that all these things tie back into each other. And it is mind-blowing. Like I've said time before, whether it's all real or not, it's a fucking crazy fabricated story. That's for sure. If you watch The Fall of Cabal, unfortunately, the woman that put it together is no longer there. If you need it, reach out to me. I'll send it to you. You can only really find it some places, specifically on Rumble. But I mean, it all alludes back to these type of things where there's big, rich people that use women and children in these types of situations so they can use them for blackmail. Obviously, we're seeing all of that with the Diddy case. We've seen this come to trial in Epstein case. I'm not sure how come we can credit some things in this cases and not others. I understand not all of it's true, and I know some people use grooming and child trafficking and Pizzagate and all other crazy situations that make it really far-fetched. But if we dial out for a second, this happened in court, they settled. I'm innocent until proven guilty, but I don't think innocent people settle. Just saying. Just my personal opinion, allegedly, don't sue me. I guess one of them is no longer here, so they can't. I'm sure Prince Andrew won't sue me, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I find that strange. And in 2019, she fully claimed that she was not suicidal. And again, it's been a couple years. She's now obviously divorcing her husband, and we'll get into that, and having a custody battle, and some other things are happening. Allegations are happening at the same time. So again, won't claim anything, but this one seems really sus to me, and I'm just curious to see how this goes forward. Okay, so let's see what happened leading up to her accident. Let's read one of these articles here that I found super interesting. And when I say interesting, I kind of mean fucked, but for lack of a better word. Okay, so we're going to go over two articles quickly. One was published on the 2nd, and then one subsequently on the 25th. So Virginia Guiffre allegedly broke family violence restraining order weeks before claiming she had days to live. Virginia Guiffre has been accused of breaching a family violence restraining order and is due to face the court just days after claiming she didn't have long to live due to injuries sustained in a vehicle crash. In an Instagram post on Sunday, March 30th, Guiffre, who previously accused late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew of sexual abuse, shared a photo of herself in the hospital covered in bruises, saying she had gone into kidney renal failure and that she had 4 days to live. Guiffre is now set to face Joondalup Magistrates Court on April 9th after allegedly breaching a family violence restraining order in the northern Perth suburb of Ocean Reef on February 2nd, people can confirm. Guiffre's first court appearance following the alleged breach was on March 14th, and no plea was entered, people understands. The upcoming court case is set to take place at 9:30 a.m. local time, and it's not known if Guiffre will attend. I don't know how you make this up, guys, but okay. She says in this post, "This year has been the worst start of a new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details, but I think it's important to note that when a school bus driver comes at you at 110 as we were slowing for a turn, that no matter what your car is made out of, it might as well be a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time. But you know what they say about wishes. Shit in one hand and wish in the other, and I guarantee it's going to be shit at the end of the day. Thank you all for being the wonderful people of the world and being a great part of my life. God bless you all, Virginia." The court couldn't immediately respond when contacted by People for additional information. The news comes after Guiffre's family said in a statement obtained by People on Tuesday, April 1st, that she had meant to share her post about the crash in a private social media account. Virginia thanks everyone for the outpouring love and support, the statement said. She is overwhelmed with gratitude, and today she remains in serious conditions while receiving medical care. On March 24th, in rural Western Australia, a school bus hit the car in which she was riding, the statement continued. The police were called but said that there was no one available to come to the scene. They asked if anyone was injured and suggested that if they were, they should make their way to the hospital. Rest in peace, girlie. Guiffre's family went on to say that the bus driver had a full bus of distraught children and left the scene before later filing a police report that Guiffre was bruised and returned home. Virginia's condition worsened and she was admitted to the hospital, her family said. Concerning her Instagram post, Virginia thought that she had posted on her private Facebook page. Her and her family thank everyone for their concern. The Western Australia police told People that a crash had been reported 12 miles north of Perth and involved a bus and a car. Police described the crash as minor, and they said there were no reported injuries. They added, "We do not confirm the names of people involved in incidents and would not provide further detail." Guiffre, who was originally from California, purchased a $1.9 million home in Ocean Reef with her husband of 22 years, Robert Guiffre, in December 2020, as per news.com.australia. The pair shared 2 teenage sons and a daughter aged 14, and they've been having a little bit of issues, it sounds like, and I mean, Lord knows I've been there with no kids, so I totally understand. So as I'm starting to unravel this story a little bit more, it seems like I said, from when I had watched the documentary and they just seemed so happy and she had moved on and she was helping people. Again, not saying that we can fully understand. It just was really shocking to me to see that people had said that she'd gone by suicide. And again, Jeffrey Epstein, all that, you immediately assume like, oh, well, someone got to her, right? But, you know, when you start stacking all the things that happened to her, I mean, that's got to be a hard thing to process, right? So, fuck. I can barely handle taking my cat to the vet today, like, Jesus. But we're also going to go to one more allegation that's come out a couple days after now. This is over a month old, but I did want to go through it because I thought this was a little bit shocking, even though it is allegations, but let's go through it. Virginia Guiffre alleges husband has physically abused her for years. I can no longer stay silent. So this was published on April 5th. Guiffre, a victim of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, was involved in a recent car accident that her brother says saved her life. As controversy swirls about cryptic Instagram message, Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Guiffre recently posted about her deteriorating health following a car crash in Australia. She is now coming forward with allegations of abuse against her husband of 22 years, Robert Guiffre. Virginia, 41, previously spoke out as a victim of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who died in prison cell at age 66 in 2019, and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, 63, who is currently serving a prison sentence for child sex trafficking in connections with Epstein. Virginia says she has been hesitant to speak out publicly about the alleged abuse involving her husband until now. In an exclusive statement to People, Virginia said, I was able to fight back against Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, who abused and trafficked me, but I was unable to escape domestic violence in my marriage until recently. After my husband's latest physical assault, I can no longer stay silent. And that was a picture from her in the car accident, allegedly, remember? She ended the statement by saying, again, I thank everyone for their support, and I have faith that justice will prevail. Her statement comes less than a week after Virginia said in an Instagram post Sunday, March 30th, that she was in the hospital and near death after a car in which she was riding in March 24th was struck by a school bus going more than 149 miles per hour. I've gone into kidney renal failure, she wrote, next to a photo of her lying in a hospital bed, her face covered in bruises. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. She went over this. A spokesperson for Virginia confirms that Virginia reported January 9th, 2025, assault in Dunsborough, Western Australia, to police who did not charge Robert for any crime. People has been unable to obtain the incident report. Robert did not respond to People's multiple calls and texts for comment. His attorney told People in an email, unfortunately, as the issues you raise are before the courts in Australia, both he and anyone associated with the case, including Ms. Guiffre and her agents, are prohibited from discussing or utilizing the media. Therefore, there is no comment. Speaking exclusively with People, Virginia's brother, Sky Roberts, and his wife, Amanda, both 36, says Virginia, who lives in Australia, is making the allegations because of the severity of her injuries. I think the last incident that they had, she almost died, Amanda says about the alleged January 9th beating. And we had to speak the truth with her on the phone, and I think she had acknowledged that if she had one more instance with him, she wasn't going to make it out of there. Sky and Amanda note that they don't know whether Virginia's medical issues were caused by crash or complications from a recent beating she allegedly suffered at the hands of her husband, or a combination of the two. Let's be clear, she never stated in the bus accident the cause of all of her other injuries, said Sky. But I do think that the bus crash in some way, shape, or form saved her life. It could have been a blessing in disguise. Adding that he doesn't know specifically what happened internally to her, Sky, an auto claims adjuster, says Virginia's bruising is consistent with a car crash. No one ever said her liver issues and kidney failure were ever from that. We still don't know if it is. I'm not a medical professional. That's up for her doctor to determine. Speaking about the damage to Virginia's organs, Sky said, I think that's from years of alleged abuse. You gotta think she's been allegedly being abused for over 10 years. Anybody's body is going to take a toll after that course of time. Like, absolutely. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? And like, they just say, and this is all alleged, and I'm not saying in this specific situation, Robert, I am just saying in a lot of stories, it does sound like, you could pick the same spouse as an abuser, and not really realize. I feel like sometimes abuse victims are very vulnerable because they are looking for that helping hand. And if this is true, Robert, you're disgusting. If this is true. If it's not, I don't know how you're ever going to be proven guilty or not, but if that's true, gross. Virginia had been having marital issues for a while, and in August 2023 or so, separated from Robert, the father of her 3 children, ages 19, 16, and 15, Sky and Amanda say. During a trip to celebrate one of their children's birthday in January, Robert allegedly beat Virginia so severely she was left with a cracked sternum and perforated eye, among other injuries, they said. She was transported to the hospital for her injuries, her spokeswoman said. To the family's shock, they say Robert quickly filed a family violence restraining order against her, alleging that she had become violent with him, they say. He just put his in place first, Sky alleges. Now she's on the defense. She was accused of breaching the restraining order by texting Robert on February 2nd in Perth. 7 News was the first to report. Addressing critics who say Virginia is coming forward with this now because she wants to avoid going to court on April 9th to address the alleged restraining order violations, Sky says that is dangerous thinking. Is it going to take her to... Oh, God, fuck. Is it going to take her to die for people to believe her? Or can you just simply be a human and look at the facts and understand this is somebody that legitimately got in an accident, legitimately had underlying issues? After her last Instagram post, Virginia had been accused of exaggerating or even lying about the car accident and her health. On Tuesday, April 1st, her family clarified from a statement obtained by People that Virginia thought she had posted this message on a private social and not Instagram. Not only was she likely on pain medications in the hospital when she sent the message, says Sky, but she was feeling despondent and depressed over not being able to be with her children, who are the most important thing. He clarifies that his sister was told by one doctor that if she did not continue to receive care, she would only have 4 days to live, he says. She remains in the hospital where she's continuing to receive treatment. She is marginally better, but in still serious condition, spokespeople said to People. And there is the infamous picture, rest in peace again, girlie, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, 17-year-old Virginia. So those are all the articles that I'm going to kind of bring to light right now. I definitely will take a pause on this for a little bit. Obviously, she has passed, unfortunately, so those articles obviously hit a little harder now. But this story obviously lit a fire under my ass because this absolutely blows my mind. One of the biggest advocates and accusers in this space is no longer with us. And I'm sure that is felt through the community, through her family. And if you're anywhere in spirit listening to this, Virginia, I really hope that you are proud of all the work that you did and your bravery for speaking out and fighting again and again. It sounds like continual battles all over the place. I promise I'll never forget your story, and I'll always check back in and bring this up so that people don't forget what you fought for, how you took down one of the biggest monsters in this world. Even if there is conspiracies that he's still alive, you did that, girl, and that will always be your memory. And I promise, like I said on the show, to continually talk about this, as this is something I've been speaking about for years, and I'm still blown away at how disgusting this whole thing is and how so many people are tied to this and yet they still won't release documents. Just blows my mind. But like I said, again, rest in peace, Virginia. I really promise to do my best to keep your story going and always be a platform for any victims of this that want to speak out or come on the podcast to share their experience. Of course, you're more than welcome to come on the show. I know it's terrifying, but always stand with you and will always be a voice, even if it's just to listen in the DMs. But you guys, that does it for this episode today. I think next week on both Keeping Up with Canada and Internet Insanity, I'm going to search for some positives and funnies, okay? I need a break. Okay, so this one was heavy, but I thought it was super important. Next week, I promise you guys, I'll bring some more happiness to the show and lighten it up for the week. Don't forget to watch the podcast that is released every Friday on Apple, Spotify, and Rumble. And again, we're posting, we as in me and the cats, are posting twice a week on YouTube exclusively. Mondays are Keeping Up with Canada and Wednesdays, Internet Insanity. So you get 3 times a week, you get to hear this girl run her mouth, and I'm sure you're going to tell me in the comment sections how you don't love it. That's okay. Keep posting. Helps me build the algorithm, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.